Hi, welcome back to Lowkey. It's not a podcast. I'm Amanda, and today I have Molly with me. And fun fact about Molly, we just met today.
Yep.
So my husband has a podcast. Shout out to the Yen podcast for young entrepreneurs. And he had Molly on it. And when she filled out, he's more professional than me. He has a form that people fill out. And she filled out the form and he was like, you need to look at this girl. I think you guys would connect a lot. And then I read it and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. So I decided to have you on mine too.
Here we are.
Yeah. So you're doing a twofer today. So it's going to be a long day for you.
Here for the ride, you know?
Yeah. You're going to have to like constantly be like sipping your water from talking so much. That's like the worst feeling, I feel
I'll try not to make like weird sounds into the microphone, you know?
Like ASMR, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
We have a friend who like, he secretly loves it. And I just wonder so many things about him. Like it really changed our relationship when I found out that he likes ASMR.
It's oddly satisfying. It is.
Yeah. Now it's like a thing on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it. Like people like, they'll do the makeup noises. So, like,
they're like
pop.
nails on things.
Yeah. And I'm just like, it's kind of crazy. I
It's
didn't
gone
know
a
that
little
was
too
thing.
far.
Oh, way too far.
Yeah.
Because it makes you really wonder, like, why do they like that? It's a little weird.
Anything can become a fetish. So we'll just
We'll
move
stop
on,
it there,
you know?
yeah. But so I don't know if you want to tell a little bit about yourself so everyone can get to kind of know you.
Yeah,
And
so-
I can get to know you.
Yeah, right. So I'm Molly. I live in the Pittsburgh area. I am an interior designer. So yeah, Matt was talking to me about my business that I started for interior design. And I guess a fun fact about me is I grew up in a very small town. My parents are older because my brother is 15 years older than me. So we are like same dad, great family union. I was just basically an only child, and so was he.
Yeah.
So they always joke that they raised two only children, but we're actually very close. Even though he's quite a bit older than me. So that's kind of the fun fact. And we have a golden doodle named Chai because we really were into like dirty chais from like our local coffee shop.
I love that.
At the time. And she's like the perfect little bit of like cream color, you know what I mean? So she fits her name.
That's so cute. I love golden doodles. Our friend has a mini one. And so does my aunt.
so
My
cute.
aunt has a mini one too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we got a mini Australian Shepherd. And with the hair, I'm like, we should have did the doodle.
I didn't realize like how lucky I was getting when we got her. Like I knew hypoallergenic, but then we got her and I'm a little bit more OCD and like to have things like on the cleaner side.
Yeah.
And I was like, thank God I didn't even think about this, but this is beautiful. Like I love what's happening here. Yeah. And then everyone's like, oh, are you a millennial? And I'm like, basically, I know we got a golden doodle. Like everybody who like has a golden doodle is basically a millennial, but it's fine.
That's so funny.
They're
I didn't know
perfect.
that was a thing.
Yeah. Someone was like, oh, he's a millennial. Like they were talking to my husband and he's like, yeah, okay, I have a golden doodle.
That's so funny. I'm like right on the line. My birthday is literally like, I think I'm like the first. So me and Matt, our birthdays were 1 year apart. So
nice.
I'm right on the line of a Gen Z and he's the last millennial. And I was like, it's kind of funny. Like, but I always tell him, I'm like, I don't feel like I fit in with my generation.
No, I'm
at
like
all.
on the tail end of millennial. Like probably I would like to be a millennial though. So
that's how I am. Like, claim that over Gen Z.
Yep.
Just take that with me. No, our mini Australian Shepherd is so hairy. But I grew up, my aunt had a farm her whole life.
Nice.
And we always like as kids, like in the summertime when we were off from school, my grandma would watch me and my sister with our cousins. So my grandma, who was probably like in her 60s, like late 60s at the time, would watch like 9 to 10 kids. Yeah.
I'm sure she
by
loved
herself.
it though.
Oh yeah. Well, it's a farm. It's like you could do whatever.
Farm life.
But they always had Australian Shepherds. And I loved them. Like they were so like
It was like
sweet.
the nostalgia for you too, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we had growing up, I had a golden retriever and a border collie. And so when we got I was like, when Matt's dog passed away, we were dating. And I was like, I know we have to wait because we met when we were 16. I know we have to wait to get married. So let's just get a dog together, which was so stupid.
Yeah.
But so he went to go get a dog and his parents went with him and they ended up getting our dog's brother.
Oh, wow.
So we have the girl and his parents have the boy.
What a small world.
But the problem was that they got, because he still lived at home and I still lived at home, they got raised together. So they were so bad. They were not like a normal Australian Shepherd. They were so bad. Because I was like, they're smart. They're supposed to learn so fast.
Now you had like Dumb and Dumber, you know?
Yeah,
like
literally, that's what they are. Their names are Luke and Bailey, which we laughed that they're like so, like our dog's Bailey and their dog's Luke. And it's so funny because I'm like, they just sound like brother and sister.
Yeah.
But they were so cute as puppies though, the way they would cuddle. But I regretted the hair, like, because me and Matt both have major allergies. Like, and I just got allergy tested last year because I was, like I was telling you before we started, I'm always sick. And so my PCP recommended I go to an ENT. And so they made me get allergy tested before they did anything else.
Right.
And they were like, yeah, you're allergic to everything. And I'm like, what does that
I'm sorry,
mean?
what?
Yeah, like what does that mean? And she's like, yeah, everything we tested for you for, you're positive. And I'm just like,
can you retest? Like
I know. I was like, maybe my skin's just super sensitive. And she's like, no, you're allergic.
Did you
to
literally
everything.
do the one where they like put it on your skin, like your back or whatever?
Yes.
And
So they did my arm.
Yeah.
They did. So then I think something happened where one of them, like, the rash was so big. I want to say it was the cat one that it went into the other ones. And so then they did it on my other, like,
well, that
bicep.
probably was a determining factor. Oh, you're allergic to everything because the cat one spread.
Yeah.
It's just like your whole body.
And then they did on my back, and my back was bad, which I have a weird, like, this is probably like TMI, but I've always had like weird, like, skin, like on my back.
No one's perfect.
Like a weird rash.
Yeah.
And it never goes away.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely like, it's probably because she said I'm allergic to everything, and I'm definitely
maybe. I mean, like if you have like
something.
a wool sweater or something, some people are like allergic to wool. So
I
like
know.
anything that like rubs against. Yeah.
Sure, I'm allergic to whatever this is. Yeah. But we always laugh because we're always like, and that's why Matt earlier made a joke about like, I'm never allowed to do Botox because I'm literally allergic.
Your face would be like,
yeah, I'm allergic to everything. Like one time I did, well, we went to Aruba in September, and from the feather pillow or something, I don't even know. And we also got tattoos. Matching tattoos.
Oh, that's fun.
Which mine has like makeup all over it, so it's all crusty right now. But when we got our tattoos, the next morning I woke up and my lips were swollen. I looked like I got a lip job.
Oh my gosh.
But
You're like,
at first it was bad, but then it got to it looked like a good lip job at one point.
what do you think it was from though?
We have no idea. We're just assuming maybe just like me, like, because I was drinking alcohol and mixed with tattooing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. You left the country to get a lip job. That's what most people would say.
Yeah.
It's cheaper, you know?
Yeah. But it was so funny though. I was like, Matt, my lips feel weird. And I went in the bathroom and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And it was weird. It was just my lips. So I don't know. Like, it's something maybe like one of the drinks I got.
It had to have been, or like the straw.
Yeah, or like juice. I don't know. They're super eco-friendly there, so they usually don't give a lot of straws
Yeah,
out.
that's right, because of the turtles.
Yeah. Is that why?
Yeah, I think so. Because they get stuck like in their nostrils or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
That's like the whole Save the Turtles campaign was like all the bamboo straws because then they like break apart, or like the sugarcane straws or whatever they make them out of now. Seaweed. There's seaweed straws.
Oh, ew, I feel like that'd be so gross.
I don't actually, those hold up way better than like the cardboard ones that they
Yeah,
give you.
I hate the ones that when you like sip them, they like melt.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a person that like sucks my coffee down. Like I like to savor it.
No, my straw is definitely done before I'm done with my drink.
Yeah, it's so gross.
It's tapped out. It's done.
I know. Aruba definitely did that. I wonder if it's the bamboo because it was like harder.
Maybe.
And
Yeah.
it like was like if you'd push it a little bit, it would snap. So it must have been that. But they do have sea turtle hatchings, which we always miss it. But so that must be why.
Probably.
But yeah, they're super. It's crazy too. Their water, they have like one of the number one like purified water systems or whatever. I don't know, like their water.
So can you drink the water there?
Yeah, like right out of the spigot. It's crazy, and it's so good. It's like so soft.
Huh.
It's so weird, but we love it there. We always say, I always want to buy a house there one day because I'm like,
hey,
I could go there every year. Yeah. But since you do interior design, and talking about houses and stuff, I wanted to ask you kind of like how you got into doing that.
Yeah, I mean, basically, as a kid, I was always doing something. You know, I loved art class. I loved being creative, you know, rearranging my room, repainting my room. You know, my mom is a huge advocate probably for this because she was an interior decorator. So she didn't go to school for it, which is why I say interior decorator, but she would help people pick out paint colors and like rearrange their rooms and help them with furniture. And so she was always a creative, you know, she was always doing something. She was making clay earrings, and then she was making clay like figurines for people. And like, she was always doing something. She's into stained glass, you know, she's just a plethora. She's like a wonderful woman. She just does everything. And she's so creative. And so growing up with that, obviously, and seeing her be so creative, it kind of really opened the door for me to be able to imagine what I could do. Yeah. So I didn't grow up in a family where they were like, you have to be a lawyer, you have to be a doctor, you know, like that was not on the cards for me. And so, yeah, being able to be creative. And my dad was a contractor kind of turned engineer for the second half of his career. And so again, he was a little bit more technical, but kind of knew the architectural side of things from being a contractor and was very interested in that side. So I think it kind of was the perfect blend of architecture and then seeing my mom do different types of design to where I felt the freedom to be able to feel supported, of course, too, to go into a more creative field and kind of explore the world of interior design.
Yeah, that's so cool. I feel like I'm always just like, I remember being like 18 and getting ready to go to college. And my parents were like, basically it was always like, you're just really smart and really good at school. Mm-hmm. So you need to do something that makes like really good money because you're just really smart. And I'm like, And I remember getting to college being like, oh my God, I'm so dumb.
I'm so dumb.
I came from a small school. So literally my graduating class was, I always tell people 60, 70, between 60 and 70.
Yeah.
And
I was supposed to have like 120. We had like 110, I think.
yeah,
Rip
that's
to the
how
other
a lot
10
of
who
schools,
didn't
I feel like
graduate.
around
But
like
yeah.
this area where we're at in
Yeah,
Beaver,
they're
like,
small.
or like that. Yeah. And it was hard when I went to college because I was like, these kids had way more resources. Like when I took anatomy, all the kids in my anatomy class took it in high school.
Yeah.
And this was just a refresher, and the teacher went really fast through it. And my anatomy teacher actually was a doctor, like a retired doctor.
Yeah.
And because his wife had kids, he didn't want to be a doctor anymore.
I mean, the hours are terrible.
So yeah, it was literally so horrible. And I remember just like struggling, and I'm like, what the heck? Like I was smart. Like, so I like second guessed my entire life in there. And Matt, he started a business at 18.
Oh, wow.
He had an estate sale company.
Okay.
And I remember like helping him with it.
Wait, does this mean you guys have like the in on estate sales now?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got to hook up.
We'll talk later.
Yes. We'll
Yeah,
talk later.
I need to know.
This is like on the hush hush, but we're bringing it back.
Oh, okay.
Because we stepped away from it and we're bringing it back.
Oh, it's on the hush hush and we're.
Oh yeah, it's all right.
It's on the hush.
It's on a hush. I can't. You'll learn quickly. I don't keep anything on the hush hush. I am that person that. This is why I have a podcast. Everybody knows everything.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
about my life.
It's up to them if they watch it or not. You know.
Yeah.
They can know or not know.
Yeah. Everyone that needs to know knows. So it's okay.
Okay. Good.
But yeah, so he started out in a estate sale company at 18. His parents helped him start it up and stuff because
awesome.
he was like 12 years old, like an eBay prodigy at like 12 years old. So that's how you knew he always laughs. Like he'll be like, oh, like stop it. But I'm like, no, like that shows like you made like I remember meeting him thinking like, oh my God, you have so much money. Like you don't even need a job. Like his parents, I remember wanted him to work at Marshall's for like seasonal sales. And I'm like, you do not need a job. Like you're so smart. Like you work.
But did he always have a job?
No.
No,
he worked seasonal at Marshall's, and I don't think. Oh, he did work for his dad. His dad worked at Do It Best.
Okay.
But he always did eBay, and then when he got into the estate sale, but once he did the estate sale business, he never had a normal job.
Yeah.
And I was like admired, like I always just saw that, and I loved like just supporting him. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I want to drop out of school. I just want to support him.
Yeah.
I just want to be his wife, and I just want to
be his wife.
I just want to have a bunch of babies, and like that be my life. And I thought that was gonna be my life. My mom got a job at Geneva College, so I switched there. And we got I like was doing business classes. I switched to business from like the pre-med stuff I was doing. And so I go to Geneva, do business. I started working at a hotel and I like loved it. I loved the like rush. I loved my
hospitality.
Yeah. It's like so funny though. Like I de-escalated situations like so well. And at my hotel, the GM, like there was issues with her. Like she had health issues. She had lupus, and then her dad passed away.
Yeah.
So she was like gone, and I was a stand-in GM at 19.
Right.
And I like was running the hotel, and I loved it. Like I loved having the freedom. Well, then it got to a point where they like wouldn't give me a rate. Like they were paying me like $10 an hour.
You get capped. Yeah.
Yeah, they would not pay me more than $10 an hour because I was 19. And there's a bunch of stuff. And they were like, if you want, like finish your degree, we'll send you to hospitality school. Like they kept telling me like, we'll get you a hotel.
Empty
and
promises.
I was like, yeah, I was like, okay, like maybe, I don't know. And I like talked to Matt, and Matt's like, no, like you have the personality. Like let's just run businesses together.
Yep.
So he ended up like he's had so many businesses, but we ended up at one point opening that was my first business with him, was a furniture store.
Oh, fun.
I had a cleaning company for that actually was my longest business, but the furniture store we did together with another person. And I like it's one of those weird things how Matt was telling you earlier. I have a weird like people would ask me to design things and I don't know what I'm doing, and it would always just like turn out good.
You'd be like, oh, I did it.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, this looks good. Okay, like, in our house, it was so funny because I am like you. I want to change things constantly. I hate, like, I love change. Most people fear it. I love it. Like, I need something new in my. Like, I always need something new. And so I always was changing our house. Like, I was always changing. And, like, I'm a thrower awayer.
Oh, I purge.
Oh, yeah. So I would, like, get rid of all our decor. And then we would, like, go to an estate sale and buy, like, all new, like
you were in the right business, though.
Yes.
I mean,
but, yeah, and with the store, I could do that. Because I would just get stuff from our manufacturer really cheap.
Right.
And keep it for myself. And then me selling one of those products would pay for the one that I took.
Right. Or if there's like a damage and like a leg comes in broken, you just replace the leg yourself. And then you're like, okay, I'll take the damaged piece. And they're sending a new piece anyway. You know,
Yeah. And we did. So we refinished furniture. Matt refinished furniture. He's actually how you were saying your husband, he was saying your husband's like can do a bunch
Yeah.
of things. Matt's literally that. He's good at everything. It's really annoying. Like, he doesn't try. He just will do something and it's like,
does it.
oh wow, you're just
like, okay, I guess you can sell that too.
flawless. Yeah. He was so good at so he would like paint everything and then like sand it and paint it
Yep.
or stain it, whatever needed to be done. And then I was always I would scuff it up because that was because he can't mess that up.
Honestly, perfect balance here. Perfect balance.
Yeah. I remember the one time he didn't know this. The paint was on so thick and we were like sanding it forever trying to get like the perfect scuffs on it. So when he wasn't home, I like got his hammer and I was like scraping his hammer alongside of it. And I remember him getting home and like complimenting me. And I was like, if he knew what I did to this piece of furniture, like
he'd be like, what the heck did you do?
I know, but that was my thing. I just loved.
Hey, sometimes what they don't know, won't hurt
I was
them.
the wrecker.
Yeah.
But from doing that though, like I was like, oh wow, like I thought I loved that. And then it got to a point where that got exhausting.
Yeah.
And I was like, do I want to sit at a store dealing with people all day?
Yeah,
And
customer service is not for the weak of heart, basically. It's hard.
Yeah, it's very hard. And it's a lot because like we would have people come in. I'm like the type of person where I like things like perfect. And it was really hard having people constantly come in and like critique the thing I built.
Yeah.
And I really struggled with that for like a really long time, even with like the marketing, because people still do that with us. And then when you become a mom, it gets even worse.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone wants to critique how you parent. And so that was something I had to learn from owning all the businesses was like being able to be like critiqued because it would like, and no one knew it, but everything even with like
you had done it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like everything, anytime someone would say something negative to me, I had every thought in the back of my brain and I would like be like, okay, let's change this about yourself or like, let's fix this so they don't see it or like they don't see that. And so that was something that I like with the furniture store, I really struggled with a lot. And we ended up getting to a point where I was just exhausted. He was exhausted. And I was like, this is going to eventually cap. Like you can't, it's a furniture store. There's only so much you can do with it.
Yeah.
And so we decided to close it because our rent went up and we felt like it wasn't worth it. We were in New Brighton. It
was just timing.
Like, we felt God moving us into a new season. We felt like confident about it. And so we ended up renting this office here and he was going to do real estate. I was going to be a virtual assistant.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm not an assistant. I have too many opinions and I like my free schedule.
I want to be in charge. Yeah.
I don't work a 9 to 5. I can't sit in an office 9 to 5. So then we started doing social media for people and then we just like fell in love with it. And he learned he had no experience of doing a camera and he learned everything on YouTube.
I know. Tyler's a YouTuber. Like he spends hours on YouTube trying to figure stuff out.
You know what though? That's how you know them two are going to get far in life because they're willing to learn.
And then he just tells me, I'm like, can you just watch this video and tell me?
Yeah, that's how I am. Even with books, I hate books. Like I like my mom, she loves buying me books and I always tell her, I'm like, listen, just give me like an Audible credit. Like I just like,
see, he listens. I have to hold.
Yeah.
I'm a holder of a book. Like I need it. Physically.
I have to, it's weird. I'm sure there's some weird like ADHD thing or something, but I have to be doing something to like absorb it. It's like weird. Like I have to like either be
washing
like
dishes or something. Yeah. Like something.
Like I have cleaning, like even like playing with my daughter. We started doing on the Bible app this plan with his family and I was listening to all the devotionals while playing with her yesterday. And like she was sitting there listening to them with me. Yeah. And I was like, I have to, like, I just like can't pay attention.
To be moving.
I have to be doing something. So that's like one thing too, like I've learned, but I always am like to him, I'm like, can't you just like watch the YouTube video on how to fix the thing and then just tell me what to do and then I'll understand it. Yep. But yeah, so that's going to get them far.
Oh, everything's on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. But with that though, like it's like funny because our house, we've always had like from the leftover things from the store and people always like would go shopping in like our basement. Cause I would just keep everything because I'm like,
yeah, why not?
I know. I felt like too, you feel so tired. You're like, I really put so much effort into this and I don't want to like just give it away to somebody or sell it. And so all our family members, they probably don't even know, they all have pieces of our store in their homes. My mother-in-law's the worst though. I like love going through her house or like I've been helping her like pull things out and so we've been staying with them and I helped her like get her Christmas stuff out and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is from our store.
Yeah, you're like, oh,
and it was so cute. But that's definitely like something that I've always weirdly, like, I don't know, I've always been like, I wish I had good style, but I think I do just like secretly. like
there
enjoy
people
it.
either have it or they don't, and so like you clearly have it. You know what I mean? And it's like if you decide to go into your interior design, you could probably do it. You know what I mean? Like because there's a lot of people who can go through schooling and again not even use their degree because they end up realizing like, hey, I'm either not good at what I went to school for, or like not that you're not good, you just don't want to. You're not passionate about it. Like it's just not in you like it was.
Yeah, and I even think with like what you do and how you say like being a creator and stuff, like you have to, styles are always changing. Oh my gosh. And even though like people always make the joke of like, oh, the 90s are back in again, but it's like you
Something
still have
should
to,
not
it
be.
still evolves.
I'll say
you know
it
what
here
I
now.
mean?
Yes.
Yeah, oh I know. A style though like always evolves into something and we're always changing it and making it ours. And when people see something they like, they're like, oh, and like they'll copy things, but they still make it their own. So like you definitely like have to have that creative aspect to you.
Well, it's individuality, right?
Yeah.
So I mean you want to be set apart enough, but not so much that you're maybe ostracized, right? Like from society, like the black sheep of the family. But you know, it's important to kind of have an identity, you know, and stay true to that instead of just trying to like fit into the crowd too. Because I think there's a lot of things right now where it's like, you know, I just bought white sneakers yesterday. I admit it. I got a pair. But my friend and I were talking and we're standing there in the shoe store and she's like, it's because there's no individuality anymore. Like I was like, oh, I think I can wear these and I can dress them up and dress them down, but maybe these ones feel too casual. And she's like, those ones just feel casual because everyone wears them now with like out and about, you know, like everyone's wearing them with like joggers and a sweatshirt, or like you can dress them up with like jeans and a blouse, you know, whatever. And it's like, those are huge right now. It's like any version of a white shoe is like super, super in. And it's like, I have some gold bows that I'm going to put on them like when I wear them, but it's like, you know, it's like, I still want to fit in. Yes. Like inherently that's within me. However, how can I do it in my own way and like spice it up a little bit?
No, yeah. I think that's like a good like mindset to have. With your field, do you feel like, is like comparison hard in your field?
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. I mean, Instagram is so visual. So like, obviously I follow a lot of like top interior designers who have like thousands of followers. And so their designs are very curated and they're using fabrics that I couldn't even think about using right now with my clients, you know, like they're super expensive and or you can just look at a project and know there was like no budget basically. And so I think I compare in the sense of like, what do I see from this designer that I would like to replicate in my own way? Versus like, I'm going to do that room for somebody else, you know, because that is a big no-no in the creative industry to just like copy and paste somebody else's room. And that has happened, you know, some major interior designers have had other people just copy what they've done. Which is basically like stealing someone's like artistic like property, I suppose. And so, yeah, I mean, comparison is huge. I think everybody in the industry compares themselves. And I think like my friend the other day was saying like on the dating apps, I promise this is related, where they recommend that you don't put a picture of yourself with other people on the dating app because people inherently are going to look for comparison. So like if she posted a picture with a friend, she would be like, oh, someone would look at that and say like, oh, well, the friend is more attractive, or like, oh, well, like she has this or she has that. And it's just, we as humans naturally do that, whether we want to or not. And it's not always negative, you know, but we're always looking for something to compare something to. And so nothing changes with social media. I mean, obviously it's a curse and a blessing at the same time. So yes, I would say I do compare on social media, but I try and do it in like a healthy manner because I know I'm not there yet. You know, I'm not there in my career. So I suppose I need to be looking at people who are in a similar spot to me, and maybe there would be more comparison of like, oh, like they got that job or but honestly, like I'm on my own journey. Everybody else is on their own journey. Like we don't need to be comparing one another because we're all like the individuality within interior design is expansive. You know, everybody has their own niche or their own color palette or their own, you know, like their own style. And so it's like someone who's going to hire me might not hire my other friend who's an interior designer because we have different styles, you know, and you just have to take that at face value. They hired me because maybe they saw something on my website that they liked, you know, and vice versa. So yeah, I try not to get too much into the comparison game because it never really gets you far. Like it just makes you feel worse about yourself.
Yeah, that's crazy about what you said about the dating app because it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But I would have never thought that.
Thankfully I never had to go on a dating app. My husband and I met through like a pastor who was like, you guys need to meet. And then we were like, yep, we're going to get married. It was just like, you know, that's just how it happened. But I mean, a lot of people are on dating apps and there's nothing wrong with that. But I've never thought about like the the psychology basically behind
Yeah.
building your profile.
Yeah, and I feel like as a girl too, that's like really a hard pill to swallow because I think it's like in our like we do a lot of I don't know, I'm like a weirdo. I love like marriage books and like marriage podcasts and stuff like that. And I love listening to them because I feel like the one thing I care about the way people perceive me is like how I'm a wife to Matt. Like that's like the one thing that I just always want to be known as like a good wife and like a good mom. But I always feel like you can never be like there's you make mistakes as a
I mean, if you're
mom.
trying to be a good mom, you will be a good mom.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you're a bad mom, you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
So
and that's how like I've always felt. And so like being a wife was like so important to me. In one of the books we read, we actually did it with his family, like a book study. And it talked about how like a woman, like men always need to feel like they feel love through respect. Like, am I
100%.
respected? And women always have the underlying question of like, am I loved?
Yep.
Like, do you love me? Do you truly love me? And when I read that, I felt like so understood.
yeah, no, it's so true.
But it's so hard, I think, too, with social media, having that balance of like, I do it for a living, and I've even had to tell Matt that like I have to take like I have to step back a little bit
break,
because when you're looking for videos for us or for our clients, it's like hard to not compare yourself. And but I realized like that question of do you love me? It's never going to go away, and I feel like you almost have to like accept that to like be able to like conquer it. And I feel like when you're constantly like in denial, you're just stuck in that like cycle.
Yeah.
But it is crazy how like as a girl that cannot be that has to be like a hard pill to swallow, being like, oh yeah, you can't post a picture with your people because people will compare.
I mean, you can, but yeah,
Yeah.
know that might be the factor, you know. And she was saying like, you know, obviously some people can be mean and be like, oh, I thought you were the other person in the photo. And it's like, wow, okay, first of all, that's really rude, but I guess this is like where we're at in the world right now. I'm like, I can't believe somebody would ever like use that against somebody, basically. It's like starting to talk to someone and then realizing like, oh, well, like you're not the person who like, obviously you have to put more than one photo on your dating app. But it just was like eye opening. And I'm like, I do not envy you having to like try and find somebody, you know? Like, I mean, yeah, it's hard.
The world is so different from when I'm just glad I didn't never had to be really in the world because I met Matt at 16.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, thank God.
Y'all had to figure it out. You were like,
I didn't have to figure it out.
locked and loaded. We're done.
Yeah. I always tell people on a couple podcasts ago, I sat down with a girl who's in college and I was telling her that I swear God knew that I was the type of girl that I just needed, I needed someone. I could never be single. Like I always had, like, even when I was in like kindergarten, like I always had like a boy, and I like, cause I just needed that, like, reassurance of like myself. And it's probably unhealthy, and I've definitely worked through it through the years of like being alone and stuff. But I swear God just like brought him at the right time because he just knew that I would be locked and loaded with him and never leaving his side, and he wasn't allowed to get rid of me. Like he threatened one time. He was like, because I like was like mad at him, a typical like college girl. Like we live an hour apart, and I remember being like, I'm gonna break up with you, and he was like, if you break up with me, we're never getting back together. And I was like, okay, I take it back.
Sorry.
I take it back. I didn't mean it. But because he knew I was like, I'm a loyal person. Like I always just need someone to be, I just need people to be loyal too. But I would say God like did that because I could never handle the dating apps. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, commitment is a huge thing for a lot of people. But I think like, being able to find your person and actually know that the other person is like what they're saying is valid and true, and saying like, I am committing to you. And I was just talking to Tyler, my husband, the other day about how I think so many people get into marriage and don't realize like how much of a true commitment it really is. And obviously being a Christian, you have a lot more understanding of marriage and like the commitment you're making to one another too. But I just feel like that's unfortunately where it falls apart for a lot of people, because they just think like, oh, okay, well, we had a huge argument. Like, why should we work through it? You know? And it's, for me, it's like, divorce is not an option. Like that. I mean, of course it is in certain circumstances.
Yes.
None of those are happening. So, like being able to know that you're with your person and you trust them and they know you better than anybody else. Like they're going to be the people who are going to support you the most and know the desires of your heart and be able to help you achieve those. Like it's a really beautiful process. Yeah.
And I even think like when you're dating and like engaged, and when you're even first married, I think there's like stupid little fights that happen, but I think too, like the more you get to know each other, the more you do still find out things. And like we've been together for 10 years, and I know like when I like see like personality traits of him sometimes, and I'm like, oh, I like didn't.
Well, you guys are completely different people now.
I didn't know this. Yeah.
Than you were when you met.
Oh, I know. And that's what I always say too, like helped us is we dated for so long that we went through like high school phase.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was in high school when we were both in high school when we met. And then like we went through the college phase, the what are you going to do with your life phase,
Yep.
the like questioning everything phase. And so like we went through so many phases that I feel like it like now when I find like when he does something and I'm like, oh, like I don't like that about you. Why did you do that? Or why did you say that? Or why do you feel that way?
Yeah.
And it's been like hard on me because I've like started to notice like our fights now are more like it's almost like we're like stubborn and like
Oh yeah.
no like but it wasn't like that in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like I remember I forget what it was. We really like I remember I was like so dramatic and like I was like
Aren't
I
we
try to
all?
remember how it was. So we like it was something so stupid we were fighting over and I was like so mad. I was like, this is not the man that I married. And I was like, why would I throw that out there?
girl.
Like why would I say that?
Yeah.
But it is true like sometimes it does like shock you. Like I remember being like shocked because I was like, I've been with you for 10 years and I like it was almost like I was like mad at myself that I didn't know that about him or like I didn't see that
Yeah.
the way he felt about
I mean,
something.
it's like life goes very fast, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so it's almost like a good reminder to slow down and remember who you're with and how you both have changed and like evolved, right? And sure, there's always going to be something about our partners that we're like, insert eye roll, you know what I mean? But there's so much beauty in it too of like, so I'm going through this book called 1,000 Gifts. And it's basically this woman, and she's a Christian. It's a Christian book. And she is talking about like finding gratitude in your day to day. And if you have that belief and you can like give thanks to God, then like that is what like your life is built on. Like you're living life to your fullest means like thanking God and being able to recognize it. And so I've started doing this thing in the new year where I'm trying to write down something every day, if not multiple things that I'm like thankful for. It can be as small as I was at the gym this morning and I got in the car and I went and I saw that I had a snowflake on my pants and I just went to like wipe it off. And it was one singular snowflake that had like the perfect, like, and it's just, I mean, as a creator myself, I can't get over like God's creation of like the fact that the other day I was just saying snow didn't have to sparkle. Yeah. Snow could be a flat white. And it could just land and it could be just as dreary as the rest of the winter time. But it doesn't, you know, your headlights hit it and it sparkles, or like the sun comes out and it's sparkling. Like it didn't have to be that dynamic, but it is. And so like seeing that little perfect snowflake that's like so tiny and then melts away in 2 seconds, like there's so much beauty in something so small that doesn't last. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so anyway, just seeing that. So I'm like, you know, I'm writing down, you know, snowflake on my black leggings, you know, this morning. But it's just when you get into the mindset of gratitude, you know, one of the things she talks about in the book is she was in like an argument with I think one of her sons, and she had to stop like mid argument and just like say, God, like thank you for giving me a son, you know, or like just take a step back and look at like the bigger picture. And so I'm not good at doing that yet in the middle of like arguments, but I'm trying to get like embody that in my heart of like gratitude and looking for that and being thankful for that and not being like, oh, hindsight 2020, you know, I'm trying to see when God is blessing me or like giving me something now versus like looking back on it and realizing like, oh yeah, he was always there. I just didn't see it at the time, you know, and that will still always be true for certain things.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, just trying to recognize like when it's happening. So all of that to say, I'm trying to recognize like when my husband and I are fighting or like he's changed and I've changed, like we're like, it's natural. And also being like, you know what, Lord, thank you for giving me a husband. And like, yes, we're fighting right now, but like that will pass. This too shall pass.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, we all fight.
Oh, I know. Yeah. And we're all like stubborn and we're like, I think too, it's like funny because I feel like guys always get the stubborn personality. Like everyone's always like so quick to say like men are stubborn. But I want to be like, I'm like so stubborn
like,
as a
I'm
female.
worse for sure.
Oh, I'm worse for sure. Like he's stubborn on like dumb things or like business things, I feel like, whereas like me, like, I don't know, like when I want something a certain way, like I want it and I will like fight till the death for it. And I know
he's gladiator
like,
suddenly.
Yeah, I know he's laid back and like loves me so much that he'll just be like, oh, whatever, she can have it. Like I probably sound like such a brat, but I definitely like women are definitely so stubborn.
Yeah, I go to 0 to 100 so fast. Like I just get very frustrated very quickly. And he thankfully is a very patient man.
Yeah. So with owning a business and stuff, and being a Christian too, have you found it like hard with, because I feel like there's definitely like a trend with women being like almost like a women empowerment.
Yeah.
And it's like honestly too, like I even like had this conversation with Matt's sister the other day, because it is kind of hard even like in your marriage to like, it's almost like God calls us to submit to our husbands, and you get the really like high version of people being like, oh, like submit everything. I don't want to submit
Right.
everything to a man, but then you also get, well, there's like a healthy submission. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like, have you found that hard in owning a business? Like the things you see, like, have you ever felt almost like you kind of like have to catch yourself sometimes because you're like, oh, I want to be like an empowered woman, or like, I don't know. Like, I feel like sometimes when I watch things on social media,
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh, am I doing this? Or it's almost like you have to like take yourself back and be like, okay, like God calls me to be this way and I need to be this way. And it's what God sees in me, not what other people are telling me.
I mean, funny enough, I've been praying for God to help me be like honoring to him and like
Yeah.
respectful to him, and submitting to him in whatever way that looks like. Cause I feel like submission is such a weird word in today's day and age. And I've heard some sermons that do a really good job of like breaking down the word submission, because we always think like, oh, like bow down, like, like, I'm like
a slave.
Yeah, I'm a slave. I'm in handcuffs, no. And so I think it's hard because we all inherently want to make ourselves look better.
Yeah.
Like we all want to preserve a certain image of ourselves outwardly that people view us like the way people view us.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, yes, I am a woman. Yes, I have a business. I am empowered in the fact that I can even have a business, like, and the only reason I do is because my husband was so supportive of it, and it's like, I'm not saying I don't think there's ever a world in which he wouldn't have been supportive, you know what I mean? But like, I don't know if I was a single woman, if I would have been able to do that, because at the end of the day, we were living off of his salary to make sure I could even do this. You know what I mean? So it's like, as much as I want to be like a strong, independent woman, I can be that in so many other ways, but not when it comes to like, I guess our relationship or like because I need him as much as he needs me. You know what I mean? So I guess I've never really looked at it in a sense of like trying to like prove my like womanhood or my woman in entrepreneurship, like it's something that's a part of me, but it's not necessarily who I am. You know what I mean? Like, yes, it's a designation, but it's not like my heart. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does for sure. Because even too, like, I mean, even with like the boss babe stuff, like I remember being like, oh yeah, like I like wanted to do before I got pregnant, I wanted to do like a networking group and call it right now we're in Beaver County and I want to call it Beaver County Boss Babes. Yeah. And I like kind of did start it up. Like,
I mean, that sounds fun.
Yeah. I was like, this will be cool. Like, and then I remember just being like seeing things on like social media and listening, the people I would like listen to. I had to really like sit back and look who I was listening to. And there was nothing wrong with the way they were doing things. It was just that wasn't the life that I wanted for myself. Because it was like at the time I was trying to get pregnant. So it's like I do want to be home. I don't want to be working. My goal in life, like, it'd be nice to make a lot of money and live a comfortable lifestyle. Like, that would be really nice. It'd be nice to go on vacation. It'd be nice to take our kids to Disney every year. Like, that's the dream. But in this, like, my main goal and our main vision, like, for our marriage, for our family, for our businesses, is that everything would be honoring to God. Right. And when you're listening to people that, like, I was getting, like, so frustrated with myself because I was, like, I would hear these girls talk about running their business and how they're doing things and they were assertive. And I was like, oh, that can be me. And I felt like I was almost like, I need to be like that to run things. Like, that's how women run things. And I would
have to overprove yourself.
And I would like found myself even like to Matt being like, Matt, you need to do this and we need to do this. And like, almost like making like a power move. Yeah. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, that is not. And I was like, I was straining my relationship. Like, I'm sure Matt didn't notice it, but like for me, I was like, I'm straining my relationship with my feelings on Max. I'm trying to like dominate over him. And then like our daughter, I was ruining our relationship because I'm focusing so much on trying to get our family somewhere so we could be comfortable. But it's like, that isn't the desire that God put in me. That's the desire he put in Matt. Yeah. Like, Matt's the provider.
Well, and I think just like you like said, you didn't realize what you were listening to, or like you were listening to it, but you weren't really like, I mean, there's a difference between like listening and then like acting, right? Like acting on what these people are saying. And I think it's very hard in today's day and age. Like, you just have to be very mindful of what you're letting in. Yeah. And it's so funny. Growing up, my mom always was like, you have a backpack, like a hypothetical backpack, and whatever you put in the backpack, you can try and take it out, but like you're still carrying it around. You're still walking around with it. And it's like a small little thing, but I've carried it carried that backpack around my entire life because I look at it like luggage. Like what is the baggage that I'm carrying around? What do I need to like take out of the backpack and process? And also what am I like entering into my life? And I think with social media being like so accessible, again, there's like a lot of beauty in social media and there's a lot of good that's happening.
Yeah.
But there's also the other side of it where like people are mean and like leave mean comments. And, you know, there's always like some person who could pick you apart on any given day if they found your video or if they found your post, you know? And it's kind of like, what am I going to allow into that backpack? Because I need to protect like myself, you know, and like my worth and my being and like my family unit, you know, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good. And that's like mainly like when it comes down to it, like it sounds so like I feel like it's almost like cliche when we say like just like trust God and like God's like all you need, and like when you like follow him and have faith in him and you let him be the ruler of your life, like and you die to yourself, like we hear these things and we're like, oh, it's like so cliche to say. Yeah, and we're just like, oh, like okay, like I used to be that person, like I'm not gonna lie, like I was almost like bitter, probably like I would say like maybe like 3 years ago, because I was just like, oh yeah, I just gotta let God rule over my life, and like
okay, God,
yeah,
you know,
and like I would like John 3:16, like everyone needs to like we'll go to heaven, and like I just remember being like so almost like bitter about the basics of like who God is, that I was like missing the whole point and like the simplicity of like just like living a simple life of like you need community. You need like you can't do Christianity alone without like having a community. You can't live your life like you literally can't make a decision without trusting in God. And like it's like funny, like so when we got our first house, we got it for I was like 5 years ago when we got married. So we got it for $25,000 from a lady from our church.
Wow.
Who felt like she wanted a young couple in there and like whatever.
That's awesome.
This house, like I was such a brat and I was like, no, I can't knock a wall down. I can't do this. Like there's nothing to work with here. And so we ended up looking for houses. We kept getting outbid. One of the loans fell through. Like it was just something always happened. And then I was like, fine, whatever. God wants us in this house. Like we'll do this. Like I was such a brat. And we got in the house, and we like that house. Every time someone stepped foot into it, was like, your house is just so homey, and like I just feel the presence. Like our friends who were Christians would just say things like, I just feel the presence of the Lord when I walk into your house. And I remember being like, that was like the most like highest compliment.
It's a high compliment,
but like it's not one that like I thought I would need.
Or it's not one that you envisioned in that house.
And like hearing that, it changed my whole perspective on like my home and like the life that like we were gonna build. And so even like I have family members who they're not following God, and they would just say, there's just something about your house that's just so homey. Like, and they would always say like, it was your design. And I'm like, no, like it just, there was just something about that house. And so it's funny. I went from like hating that house to then we lived next to a paint plant. It smelled bad. We didn't really feel good about it.
Fair.
I don't care what the paint plant says. There's definitely something going on there that you shouldn't be breathing in.
Probably.
And we felt weird about having our 2-year-old our daughter there. She was one at the time. So we got another crazy opportunity once again from his dad's old friend from their old church, and we bought this house really cheap. And we were like, okay, we made like a $90,000 profit on our house. So we're like, we can just buy this cash, fix it up cash, and like set ourselves up good, pay some of our debt off, like get like reset our foundation, like get back on track for our kids' sake if we ever want another kid or whatever. This house was so humbling because Matt was like, I don't know if he did not want me to look at it because he was like, I know you're gonna think I'm crazy, and I was like, no, I trust you, like I trust you. If God put it on your heart, like I'm gonna trust you. And I remember us like we went and saw it and we got through it and we went to leave, and I just started crying, and he's like, no, you don't like it. And I was like, no, I just felt such peace. Like I don't know why I hated that house. It's like there's nothing to work with. Like it's so small. We're downsizing. Like what if we want to have another kid? Like I want to have more kids. Like I don't want to be in like, because of what happened, I don't want to be having kids too late into my 30s. And and so I just had such a peace about this house, and it was like I like couldn't help it. Like every time we would drive past it, like I would just get so emotional because I'm like, I just know
like this is it.
This is where God wants us, and I don't know why, I don't understand it, but I know this is where God wants us. And so we sold our house. It sold in a week. It was like such a God thing. Was smooth transaction. So Matt was did real estate on the side, and this was his smoothest transaction. And we were just like this. It was such a God thing. Like, it was
Yeah.
crazy. So then we get this house, and we're like, okay, we're going to paint, rip the floors up, whatever. And Matt's brother-in-law comes in, who's a contractor, and he's like, I think you could tear this wall down. And I'm like, why did you say that? I wanted to tear it down. So we tore it down. There was a chimney there. So we took the bottom half of the chimney out, reinforced it so the chimney would stay upstairs. To make a long story short, that didn't work. We ended up having to just take it completely out, build walls upstairs, in the bedrooms and stuff. And it was just like a really long process. So we've been living with my parents and his parents, going back and forth for 7 months with a dog and a 2-year-old.
Yep.
And it's like weird though, because I tell people like it's been really hard, but at the same time though, even when I have my bad days, I always just get that peace back. And I'm always just like, you know what, God wanted us here, and like I know He has a purpose and a plan for it.
It's a process.
Yes, it's a process. I just have to deal with it, and like I have to accept it. And it's not been easy. Like, it's been really hard, and like I love my mom. It usually
isn't.
Yeah, and I love my mom, but like you're just not meant to live with your parents when you have kids. Like and so, like, it's like, because, you know, you're trying to keep those relationships good, and like the frustrations, like I always tell Matt, like, it'd be frustrating because it's like I can't, if I want to have a lazy day, feel like I can't have a lazy day because both our parents are watching us and how I do everything. And which I know they don't care. But then I also am like, I feel like with Matt, I'm like, like, we can't fight. We can't talk things out because his parents are going to hear me talk to him like that. Or my parents are going to be like, it just, like, I felt like I couldn't fight or, like, lash it out or talk it out. And I'm a very, like, loud and passionate person. Like, I can't be a loud, passionate person. And so it was really hard for me. But after, like, we're coming now to, hopefully we're going to be moving in at the end of the month. And I'm like, it feels like I, like, finally, you know, like, you get to a part in the stage of things where you're like, oh, now you start seeing things get done. And you're like, okay, now we're moving forward. Because before it was all behind the walls, behind, in the ceiling, like, you didn't see anything
every
getting
design
done.
project ever. Yeah.
And so
then
now
it's all
I'm
of a
like,
sudden.
yes. And so I'm like, now I'm like getting encouraged. And my brother-in-law has done, shout out to him, he has done so much, like, helping us and making sure we get in there awesome. Because we are two dumb, young people in our late 20s that do not know what we're doing, and he's making sure we know what we're doing. Yeah. But like that whole process of like having faith and trusting God, like I didn't know I needed that. And even just like experiencing God's like truly peace in God for the first time was like a huge thing for me. And I think with like owning a business, it shows a lot about how you trust God, because especially when you know like you're a Christian business owner, you can't doubt someone's trust in God because you have it. Like, you take a leap of faith.
I mean, there were so many. I mean, right? Like, deciding to quit my job was probably the biggest one. I struggled with that for like a year. Like, I wasn't happy. You know, there was just a lot going on. And I got to the point where I was like, I physically and emotionally cannot do this anymore. Yeah. And like the day that I put my notice in and I quit, like, I mean, I said I would stay longer and stuff, but the day that I officially quit was not the day that I planned on quitting. You know, like I had it in my head, okay, I was January 15th, like that was just the date that was like in my head. I wanted to wrap out a few things and tie everything up with a pretty little bow because I like closure. And God was like, nope. So here's when it's going to happen, and it's going to be today. And so, yeah, I put my notice in and I was like, okay, God, like I remember calling my husband and being like, what do I do? And he's like, well, we've talked about you quitting. Yeah. Like now you hit the pavement. Like we're going to do it, you know? And so that was the biggest leap of faith because like quitting a job that I had stability in, I was making a decent salary, you know, and it's like, I just wasn't happy, you know? And it was like, what am I willing to sacrifice for someone else that I should just be doing this for myself. Like if I'm going to be working this much or putting this much effort in, you know, like I should be building something that I can be proud of instead of just like handing it off at the end of the day. And so ultimately, I wanted to build something that I could be proud of and share with other people, but also change people's lives in the process, you know? And I viewed design as a very transformative process, and a very personal process. Like it's truly a huge honor to me for someone to call me up and say, hey, I want you to come look at my house. Yeah. And I think a lot of designers might not look at it that way, but I do, because I'm like, this is someone's most personal space. Yeah. And they're saying, I need help with this area of my life, which is sometimes frankly hard to admit. Yeah. I don't know anything about design. Can you come in and help me? And so the fact that they're willing and able to trust me to be able to take their, sacred family unit home space, and make that into something that they can enjoy more, and really be fruitful in is something that I don't take lightly. And so that has been a huge blessing to just get the clients that I have had. And because every job is a new opportunity for me to learn design, but then also have just new interactions with clients and people. And I don't come out and be like, I'm a Christian, but I think it's like, I want my dealings and the way that I'm running my business to emulate that.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm trying really hard to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, kind of like closing it up and pulling everything together. I even thought it was really cool on like the questionnaire you filled out for Matt. I told Matt the one thing that like stuck out to me was when he said to describe yourself in one word.
Yeah.
You put intentional.
I did. Yeah.
And that really like hit, like I really like was like, oh wow, like it really showed your character and it showed who you were and who you are. And like in your business, it shows like the kind of person that you are, that you think that you're an intentional person. Like that's one thing. And it shows too, like that's one thing, like too, you
I value.
Yes, and you value it a lot. And I think that's so cool. And, it's hard to, like I've always said, like I've struggled in friendships because I always felt like I was intentional and other people weren't intentional back to me. And I think that can be like challenging at times, but it just shows like your character a lot. And I think it's really cool that like how you value going into people's homes and like designing them and being a part of like their process into making their home a home. Like,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I do my best to be intentional. Like who I am on screen is who I am in real life too. I mean, obviously I'm not perfect, but but I try really hard for when people meet me, like this is who you're getting, and I'm not trying to steal your money. I'm not trying to be someone who I'm not. I'm not trying to show up with, all of my gizmos and gadgets and trying to impress you. Like I know what I'm doing. I'm here to do it. And if you trust me, this will be a great working relationship, like just allow me to show you what I can do for you, basically.
Yeah, I think that's like a good mindset to have too. But and then the one last thing I just wanted what I do at the end of every podcast is I just ask someone to give like advice. I ask the people to give advice to someone. And so what would be like one piece of advice that you would give someone, whether it was something someone gave you or you read or just whatever helped you in taking that leap of faith to start your own business?
One piece of advice? I'm just kidding. So, I mean, I think if someone is really struggling on knowing whether they should start their own business, right? So I guess my piece of advice is maybe for someone who's still working for somebody else and is trying to figure out, like, do I take the jump from working like my 9 to 5 and go to working however many hours for myself every week? I think I would say a lot of people feel trapped where they're at. And the moment you realize that you are not trapped and you do have the power to get yourself out of that situation is like, it's a process. Like I said, it took me like a year to realize that I did have a voice and the ability to take control over my like career and my life of where I was at. And so I think my biggest piece of advice is just to, evaluate where you're at in this moment and just start taking baby steps to get yourself there. If someone wants to go out and start their own business, start doing things on the weekend or in the evenings that are going to push you to, like, if you can get yourself to quit your job, I guess watch YouTube videos and figure out what other entrepreneurs are doing. Sit down and dream about how you would like start up your business and like what are your 3-step, your 5-step strategy for starting your own business. What are you passionate about? Because the more that you get yourself hyped up, the easier it is for you to say, oh, I do have the power and I have a plan. You obviously don't quit your job without a plan, but I would say, the moment that someone realizes that they do have the power to remove themselves from it may be a negative situation or just wanting to put themselves in a better position, like you do have the power to quit. And like move forward in that. You just have to plan and like prepare.
Yeah, I like that a lot. You have the power.
You do. You have the power.
Yeah. It's like a good reminder because I feel like we forget that sometimes.
I mean, I have the power because God has the power, but like inherently we all have it in us to be able to get out of a tough situation. So
no, I think that's really good.
Yeah.
But thanks for being on my podcast.
Thanks. Nice to meet you.
It's nice meeting you. And I loved getting to know you. It was fun talking. I really appreciate it. And I think it's cool hearing like another woman who has the same faith as me and taking the same risks and the same steps, and it's like cool to talk about it and have that in common. So I appreciate it.
I enjoyed it.
Hopefully we're new BFFs. Who knows? Matt always jokes with me because I always say that I'm like that person that I meet someone one time and I'll go in the car with him later.
Friends now.
I'm like, Matt, I just made my new best friend.
I'm
I
always
just
like,
wanna
let's
be
get coffee.
yeah, I would say coffee's my love language. So hence the Starbucks in like every episode. But
Well,
yeah, Starbucks, please sponsor this. But thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe and looking forward to talking to you in the next episode.